So, Frank, as you said, every effect has a cause. The universe is an effect. And so what we get is, and I like the way you put it, spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, and intelligent cause. And so I've heard atheists argue that basically initial things, so the universe, time, matter, and space, initial things don't have to have a cause. And so we don't have to say that time, matter, and space had a cause. Are you familiar with that follow-up, and what would be a good response to it?
Well, what they're trying to say is that causes are just physical. They're not metaphysical. The problem is, if that were the case, then they shouldn't believe anything they think, because if their thoughts are completely physical and there's no metaphysical component, nothing beyond the physical, nothing immaterial, then they're driven completely by the laws of physics. So why should we believe anything they think, including any argument they give for atheism? The very process that we go through to think requires both material and immaterial aspects. Sure, you have a material brain, but you have a consciousness and you have these immaterial laws of logic, and you have a mind that is, while to a certain extent dependent on the material, not completely driven by the material. Because if your mind is completely driven by the material, you don't really have a mind, you just have a brain. And again, how can you trust what the laws of physics have driven you to think? If you don't have the free will to follow the evidence where it leads, then you shouldn't believe anything you think. And that's why C.S. Lewis famously said, and I'm paraphrasing what he said here. Well, actually, I should probably just pull it up, because the argument, I mean, the quote he gives is so powerful. Let me just see if I can find it here. He points out that unless your brain is designed, unless there is a mind out there and you have the capacity to follow the evidence where it leads, you shouldn't believe anything you think. Here's what Lewis said. And what he's doing is he's pointing out why materialism, which is the predominant view of atheists now, that we're just molecular machines, that we don't have a mind, we just have a brain. We don't have a soul, we just have a body. We don't have free will, we're driven completely by the laws of physics. In other words, we're just moist robots.
Yeah.
If that's the case, here's what Lewis says about this. He says, suppose there were no intelligence behind the universe. In that case, nobody designed my brain for the purpose of thinking. Thought is merely the byproduct of some atoms within my skull. But if so, how can I trust my own thinking to be true? But if I can't trust my own thinking, of course, I can't trust the arguments leading to atheism, and therefore have no reason to be an atheist or anything else. Unless I believe in God, I can't believe in thought, so I can never use thought to disbelieve in God.
Alvin Plantinga, he argued something similar with his argument against naturalism. And so did Anthony Flew, by the way,
That's
before
right.
he became a deist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Plantinga's argument in, what's the name of the book? It has naturalism in the title. I can't think of it right now. But same kind of thing that Lewis points this out like 70 years ago in the book Miracles. So he points out the problem with this reductionist materialistic viewpoint, that if every cause is material, why believe anything you think? And so look, the odds-on favorite is that if everything inside the universe needs a cause, everything that comes to be, then the universe itself needs a cause. And if you're going to doubt the law of causality, why don't you doubt all of science then? Because science is built on the law of causality, that every effect has a cause. And if you're going to say that some effects cannot have causes, how can you be secure in science? You can't.
Right. And I think those are some great points. In your debate, one of your debates with Michael Shermer about what best explains morality, you spent a lot of your cross-exam, and I think it was smart, to press him on that issue. If our thoughts are just physical with nothing metaphysical, why should we trust our own thoughts and therefore the arguments that our thoughts basically come up with? And a lot of Michael Shermer's response, and I'm just paraphrasing here, I'll try and remember it as best as I can. He would point to how our thinking process or our morals evolve over time. Hundreds of years ago, we were seeking witches and we had unrealistic beliefs. But now today, we're progressing, I guess, with our thoughts. And I'm wondering if you could speak to that, Frank, and why that's incorrect to argue that way.
Well, first of all, he's assuming his mind is working properly and it's not driven by the laws of physics completely. He's assuming exactly what he says doesn't exist. He's assuming that he has free will in order to follow the evidence where it leads.
Right.
You see, any argument for materialism must presuppose materialism's faults. Why?
Right.
Because you got to be a free will creature to follow the evidence where it leads. If the reason you're a materialist is because physics told you so, and you didn't have free will, why should you believe that's true? So that would be my first response. My second response is assuming a standard when he says that. If he's talking about morality, the question is, well, why does he think we're getting morally better? If there is no God, there is no standard, no objective standard. It's just his opinion. He's simply saying, I like it better, right? In fact, in the first debate I had with him at Stony Brook back in 2015, it's on our YouTube channel, the Cross-Examine YouTube channel, he brought up same-sex marriage. And I said to him, oh, why is same-sex marriage a good thing? According to what standard? Where are you getting this from? You know, you have to have a standard outside yourself in order to say this particular behavior is better than, say, another particular behavior. But on atheism, there's no better or worse. They're just different. If there's no objective purpose to life, there's no right or wrong way to live it. It's just, things just are what they are. And look, atheists know this. Richard Dawkins has famously said, in a universe of material causes, there is no good or bad. There is no right or wrong. There is no justice or injustice. There's just blind, pitiless indifference. We just dance to our DNA, he said. Now, of course, he doesn't think what he wrote there is just a result of his DNA dancing, right? He thinks that was reasonably concluded. But he said it nonetheless, even though we shouldn't believe it if he is just dancing to his DNA. So,
yeah, and then
I was just going to say that the biggest problem, it seems to me, with atheists like this is they exempt themselves from their own theories. On one hand, they'll say everybody's a molecular machine, but they don't think they're a molecular machine, right? I mean, Daniel Dennett, who just died a couple of months ago, said consciousness is an illusion. One wonders if he was conscious when he wrote that, right? I mean, but he doesn't think his consciousness is an illusion, right? He thinks he's got consciousness to realize what the real world is about so he can write books about it. So that's the biggest problem I see, is that atheists exempt themselves from their own theories.
Yeah, Richard Dawkins does that. He'll say on one hand, we're just dancing to the tune of our own DNA, but then on the other hand, he'll become indignant about things that he's read in the Bible.
Yeah, that's right. He'll say God is a cosmic dictator. Well, that was where Hitchens, a cosmic North Korean dictator. Dawkins said the God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all of fiction. You know, jealous and proud of it, a vindictive, unjust, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser. He goes on and on and on. Right? Well, what's wrong with any of that if there's no God? You know, if we're just dancing to our DNA, you can't even evaluate whether the Christian God is good or bad, because there is no good or bad.
Right.